In terms of where do you get started as a voiceover, we get it all the time, right? I mean, we have a lot of people that start in audiobooks, and they're told, oh, that's where you start it for voiceover. You start in audiobooks. I'm not a fan of that. Are you, Jeff?
I don't think that fits a lot of people necessarily.
I agree. I totally agree.
There's a lot of production work that needs to be done. I mean, you're the engineer, producer, and talent in those scenarios. So if you're up to the task and you enjoy it and you have a lot of fun and you find it worthwhile and you feel like you're getting paid appropriately, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. The argument tends to be, well, at least you're really going to get studied at production. Not that people can't do it, and there are people who do. And certainly, I think today, most producers are a bit more hands-on, but it doesn't mean you exclude that profession, because that is a profession, that's an expertise, is being a recording engineer and a producer. Those are totally different things. And sadly, by today's standards, and a lot of it, it's both a blessing and a curse. I shouldn't say sadly, because I think it's got its benefits, but it's got its drawbacks, and that's where voice talent not only have to be really strong actors. That's probably the most important thing, don't you think? You really have to be really studied as a talent. And that's the product above it all else, in my book.
That's what we're all really need to go for.
Right.
I mean, it's all about the creative. It's all about the talent. It's all about your imagination and what you throw at the mic. It's not necessarily about what mic it is and what's the gear behind it. It's really about, can you tell me a story?
Yep.
If you tell me a story, can you engage my imagination as a listener?
Yeah.
If you can't do that, none of that stuff matters.
Exactly. And, just a case for coaching and training is the fact that, people go, what do I get out of training? Well, why don't you train and find out? Not for nothing. It sounds like we're passing it over, but it's like, frankly, there's so much to be had from that. What tends to happen in coaching, and we were talking about this earlier, Jeff, we show talent how to find the story in the text and the context of the text. So, and people like to call it formulaic style or what have you, genre, it can bat around a lot of names. I just say context. It covers a lot of ground, whether it be voiceover for commercial, whether it be corporate narrative or explainer video. That style, there's so many different styles underneath that genre, and not every hat fits every head. What you bring to the table, you may not even know about yet, and where you're best suited to be. So you need to have an expert, coach that's seasoned and knows their stuff, and is going to show you, okay, well, I see you here. I think you really belong in this arena. I think that's what you're going to work toward. You may have like a passion. Oh, I really want to do animation. I really want to do games, or, we see that a lot, and I want to play characters and you can do that in commercial. You can do that in corporate narrative as well. You just have to learn how to entertain yourself. You got to learn how to self-direct. And what does that entail? That means when a client turns to you on a session and they say, well, that was good after a take, and it might be the 10th take, and it might be the first. That was good. Can you do it differently? And you're immediately, as a novice, might come back with, well, like what? Well, now you're at a standstill. There's a stopgap there, because you're expected to bring creative to the table. You're expected to play and do something interesting with that text. And that's where training comes in. And it's like, and you have to have that, because they have, what training's supposed to give you is techniques that you got to practice, that you have to actually work. And then you go back in for a little adjustment. Oh, I see what you're doing, crazy. Oh, but this is working. Oh, this is interesting. Cool. Well, can we zig and can we zag? It's about being agile. It's about being, agile enough to bring something clever to the table all the time. As coaches, we're there to keep you engaged enough that you follow these techniques. It's recorded, so you listen to it again. You get such a depth of comprehension, not just when you're in it and going, oh, it sounded simple, but why is that complicated? Why is that so hard to do and on a dime? Well, if they would have told me to do that, I would have done it. Really? You're not used to taking direction. Are you sure about that? Because I doubted I've seen it a few thousand times. I doubt it. So we want you to be as comfortable with that as with self-direction as you possibly can be. We want you to be self-sufficient. Jeff and I do, so that's the crux of the matter with us to a great extent, but we're painting with a broad stroke here, talking about how do you get started? How do you get started? Well, geez, you get started with training, and you need to learn about the business, but you also need to learn about the product. What are you delivering? What are you delivering that's valuable? What makes you stand out? What makes you, and it's not about talking weird, it's about being more yourself, your authentic self, which I think is probably, it's a constant process. And I don't think that ever goes away for an actor. Whether you're a voice actor or any other kind of actor, you're constantly trying to be more authentically you within the context of that piece.